Right, so some activations, some mobility, and then some stretching for everything around the hip areas. It's very important for any sort of athlete to keep your hips as supple as possible, to keep the movement in there, right in your hip joints, but then everything that surrounds it with your glutes, your lower back, your hamstrings, your quads, your adductors, and the outside abductors as well. They all kind of work in unison around your hips. If your hips are really stiff, you will feel the brunt of that in tightness or weakness in other areas of the connecting kind of musculature around it. So we're going to run through some band work first to activate the glutes. Then we'll go through some mobility work for your hips, and then we'll go through a little bit of foam rolling and some stretching then afterwards. Okay, so to start off with the bands, we're trying to get our glutes firing as much as possible. Stick the band around your knees, lie flat, feet shoulder width apart. Want to relax your head as much as possible. Get a little bit of tension in the band by separating your knees. Keep that as you squeeze to the top. On the way back down, if you feel like you need to reset, that's fine, but try and keep that tension the whole way through. You'll go for 10 reps, and at the top of every rep, you're trying to squeeze your glutes as hard as you can. Once you're done your 10, you're going to roll on one side, keep your knees bent. You're going to bring the shoulder that's in the air over to isolate. Heels come together. You're going to keep your heels together and get your knees as far apart as possible. Again, squeezing at the top. We're typically going to go for 10 reps here as well. This is going to hit the outside glute, which is mostly an abductor. Once you do your 10, then exact opposite side, bring the shoulder that's in the air right over to isolate. Knees up at an angle, heels together, and then separate your knees as best you can. You'll notice that one side is typically weaker than the other. I feel this a lot more on my left side. Obviously, it's a touch weaker on the right. Once you get your 10 done, find yourself in the stood position. Feet shoulder width apart, probably just a little bit more. A quarter squat, separate the knees, then just try and walk straight. Take a little bit of a second in between each step, and then go back the way. Again, we want as much tension on that band as possible. Now for the next one, you're going to step, but you're going to follow your step. So if I step to the right, left one comes halfway across, you lose a little bit of tension, but you step out again, regain tension. So typically I would go from one end of the mat to the other. Small steps in between. Mic on me. After that, then you're basically going to do the exact same thing, but just change the contraction. So we're going to stick the band right around the ankles. You're going to get a little bit more tension here. Exact same thing. Step in and out. And just like the muscles we worked when we were doing the clams on the floor, separating your knees, I can really feel that in the glutes. Once you're up and once you're back, you can let go of that band. Then that'd be most of the band work that I would start off with. Then we get into a little bit of mobility. So find yourself on the floor, get your feet in a comfortable position with your heels, probably a little bit more than shoulder width apart. Try and keep the chest as high as possible. Very easy for you to start using muscles that you shouldn't if your chest is caved down and you're forward. Now what we're going to do is let the left knee fall to the side, bring the right knee in, try and touch both knees off the ground. Now the biggest part with this one is when you're here, you're going to want to let this right shoulder kind of cave in and give you a little bit more wiggle room. I want you to try and keep that chest square and the shoulders pointing forward and get into that end range with your hip without sacrificing too much shoulder. I would go for 10 aside here, being 20 all in. I obviously won't do 20 here, but you'll get into the rhythm. Try not to sacrifice too much chest, too much shoulder, knees to the floor. Once you've got 20, we're going to go for 10 each side, one after the other, of internal rotation. So my feet come a little bit wider, chest and shoulders stay where they are. Try and drop that knee in as far as you can without letting the opposite knee fall out. If that opposite knee falls out, it's a lot easier. If we keep it where it is, we actually test the range within that hip. So we go for 10 on one side and 10 on the other. Now, say you finish with the 10 on the right side. For that last rep, we're going to fall into that position. You should be at a 90 degrees. So from hip to knee, knee to ankle, 90, mimic it on the front. Depending on your flexibility, your mobility, you should be able to put your right hand on. And what we're going to do then is open. So that's one. But again, the further that you look around towards what's working, the easier it's going to be. If you can keep your chest forward, shoulders square, open, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. For each of these reps, it's pretty important that you try and stick in and around that end range. Get a half a second squeeze at the top. Again, go for 10 here. Once you're done, back to neutral, we'll call this. Other side, 90-90, 90-90. Left hand, right foot, chest up, shoulders square. Open up that hip and catch it for a half second. You go for 10. Once that 10 is done, stay in this 90-90 position. You're going to bring that back heel in just a touch. What you're going to do is stay forward, lean in, and try and get that back heel off the ground. This is specifically hard for a lot of people, myself included. So I'll actually only go for 4 or 5 of these, because you could start to feel a cramp in and around your hip or in and around your glutes. Once you're done, swap back over, find your 90-90 again. Right hand, left ankle, chest and shoulders square. A little bit less of an angle with the ankle. Up you come. And while I'm doing all this hip mobility and while I'm here, I like to get into a little bit of spinal work as well. So find yourself in a tabletop on your mat. What I would do is typically start off with shoulders, trying to just separate the shoulders as much as you can. Get the spine high into the ceiling. Drop it, keep the arms locked in, triceps engaged, so you're squeezing your shoulder blades together. Get a couple of them, then maybe go around the world. So try and get a full circle of your shoulder blade with your arms locked in, and then go the other way. You're going to try and mimic them, do 5 each side, and then mimic them with your hips. So drop the hips in nice and low, belly button comes to the floor, and then belly button comes right up into your spine. Adjust your hips for now. Get 4 or 5 of them, and then you can match it. So shoulder blades together, belly button to the floor, look nice and high, and in reverse, push everything away, squeeze the belly button in, and go for 5 of them. And then the last little bit of mobility I would do is call it dead bug. So find yourself flat on your mat. You're gonna bring your knees up so that there's no space underneath your belly button. If you can fit a finger underneath there, you just need to squeeze that belly button in, bring the knees a little bit higher, past 90 degrees. Everything should be flat here. Now, hands in the air. You can rest your head if you like. If you raise your head, you will get a little bit more of your upper ab contraction, make it a little bit harder, but probably a little bit more beneficial. Left leg comes straight. Right arm goes all the way back. Back up, make sure everything is flat again, and then opposite. I would go for 20 of these in total, 10 each side, just making sure that nothing else is moving besides the opposite arm and the opposite foot. The thing with all of these drills is they're not going to feel great. They're not going to be perfect. You're going to notice over time that you're cheating automatically with one side compared to the other for most people. But do at least 1 round, potentially 2 rounds, depending on what the body is feeling like. Get it done every other day, every day if you can, if you've got time. And over time, then you'll start to unravel your hips a little bit. You start to loosen up, your lifts will get better. And then you will also feel a little bit more athletic and less stiff as the time goes on.